Way back in the 1900s, I did some work with Peterson Builders, the shipbuilding folks up in Sturgeon Bay. And Peterson Builders, PBI, had this tradition, this long tradition of side-launching vessels. Very few shipyards were still doing it. I don't think none do it anymore, but they would side-launch vessels into the water, and it was a big event. And they would gather everyone together from the factory, and the dignitary. Most of these ships were for the Navy, so high-ranking naval officials and officers would come in, and it was a huge thing. And they would name the ship, and then they would knock a bottle of champagne against the hull, and they would tilt it into the water, and it would create a huge splash, and everyone would cheer, and then they'd all go have cake. But they didn't christen the ship to stay in port. They christened the ship to go forth into the world, around the world, voyages and journeys and stories. And the fact that it had been christened didn't protect it from storms and winds and rough seas. It would still face all of the tumult of the world. That's just life. It would go forward out into the world for its job. And what a weird thing it would be, wouldn't it, to build this huge ship and christen it and launch it and then leave it there, never send it out into the world to do its job and fulfill its purpose. Likewise, when we're baptized, we're not baptized to sit in church. We're baptized to take all of this out into the world, into a journey, into a purpose. Just as Jesus did. You go through and you look at the Gospels, Jesus did all of his best work at the seashore and on the roads and on street corners. He did it out in the world. Take it out there and fulfill the mission. And the fact that we're baptized isn't going to protect us from the storms and the trials and the winds of the world. We're still going to get knocked around a bit. But baptism gives us several gifts. I want to focus on three. It's not an exhaustive list. Several gifts that we carry with us into that journey. And the first is the gift of identity. The first question we ask parents when they bring children for baptism is, what name do you give to this child? We baptize them by that name. We're given an identity as a child of God. The dignity of being a child of God, created in the image and likeness of God. Which is to say, an identity that's created in the image and likeness of infinite love. Created by love, in love, for love, to love, and to take that love into the world. And it's a marvelously anchoring identity that we can return to again and again and again as we travel life's path and ask ourselves, why am I here? Who am I? And the answer is right there. You are a child of God, created with the dignity of God's own child, in the image and likeness of God, created in love, for love, by love, to love. And if we don't anchor ourselves in that identity, we wander aimlessly in life, always searching for meaning and purpose and identity. And we'll look for it in all sorts of other places. We'll look for it in fame and fortune, accomplishment and achievement, power and influence. We keep looking for meaning and identity in all of these other things, none of which are true and authentic, none of which are lasting and even real. But baptism gives us that defining gift to come back to this identity, Christian identity, as a child of an infinitely loving God. Second gift we're given in baptism is forgiveness and renewal. The storms of life are going to batter us. Sometimes we will chase false identities. Sometimes we're going to take wrong turns and find ourselves adrift and lost. That's also part of the journey. But baptism brings us back with forgiveness and renewal. Sometimes we're going to need to bring the engines in to be rebuilt. Sometimes we're going to need a fresh coat of paint, little spiritual maintenance, reclaim the power of Christ in our lives. Baptism gives us that forgiveness and renewal to set out again and again and again. And the third thing baptism gives us is the gift of joy. It's good that we gather for baptism. It's good that we sing and we pray and we splash water and we anoint and we all go have cake. It's good. It's good to bring great joy because the Christian story is a story of great joy. Incarnation, God among us, is great joy. Resurrection is great joy. We are people of joy, and our world needs people of joy. And when we lose that identity, we lose that joy. And we get stirred up in the negativity, the criticisms, the complaints, the cynicism, the sarcasm. We get pulled into that churn of dark thought, doubt, despair. Baptism calls us back to great joy, to be people of gladness. And what a gift that is to take out into the world. And may these gifts, this gift of Christian identity, being one with God's love, this gift of forgiveness and renewal, this gift of great joy, may all these gifts rain down upon you. And may the gift of being one in our Christian identity with a loving God, forgiveness and renewal, and endless joy stir the heart within you. And may the gift of being one in infinite love with God, forgiveness and renewal, and the spirit of great joy flow into this world through you.